This guy, for many people, is the demon of Football Manager. When asked online who is your nemesis on Football Manager 2024, the amount of people that said Marco Rose was more than any other manager. So what makes him so damn special and so hard to play against? Is it the way he sets his team up? A box like 4-2-2-2? Is it his team instructions? Or is it the secret way that he employs his players? What player roles does he give them? Well, today we're going to find out. Now, if you've seen any of my recent Director of Football saves, you'll know that we managed to find out pretty much the way the AI versions of Guardiola, Xabi Alonso, Ange Postecoglou and Ruben set up their teams. So how did we do this? Well, we used the in-game editor to appoint that manager to be my assistant manager. Once in, he was doing the first team stuff such as training and team selection and tactics. That meant his team setup, in this case he favoured a 4-2-3-1, that would be used, and we can kind of work out his team instructions based on his 10s too. Then after he played a ton of matches, I was able to see what player roles he gave to each of his players. So by the end of it, we were able to build that tactic that he used for the season. So if you can't beat them, join them. We're going to find out exactly how Marco Rose likes to set up his team. Now to do this, it doesn't matter what team we take over, but I've took over Manchester United. And I'm going to appoint Marco Rose as my assistant manager. And I'm wasting no time in putting him in charge of everything first team tactic related. So he's Manchester United, so he should have a decent squad available to him for what he's going to do. What's interesting with his 10s too though, you can see there that he fits players into his preferred tactic. So he's not going to change the way he wants to play. They've got to fit in. So someone like Garnacho, who's a natural wide player, the only way he's going to get in this team is if he plays as an attacking midfielder or if he puts him up front. So we're going to break this down now, and the first thing to do, if you want to do this with any manager that you have trouble with, or if you wonder just how they're really good all the time, Ancelotti's a good one at Real Madrid, is put them as your assistant manager, go to this screen, don't press a thing. Leave it as that, then when he takes charge, it will be this setup, and it will be his team instructions, which we'll try and break down as best we can. But what we will find out is the player roles that he favours. Final tip is to disregard pre-season, because I've done this a few times, and every time I've done it in pre-season, he doesn't play the final version of his tactic in pre-season. They play all sorts of different roles, but when he gets going in the bulk of the season, that's when he drops back into it. So we're going to go up until December, find out what he's doing. Alright, so we're back on the 31st of December. The interesting thing is they didn't have a great time in the Europa League. They won 3 games, but they also lost twice and they've gone out on goal different. However, the league's a different story as they're riding high in second position, having only lost the 3 matches. Man City, West Ham and of course to Aston Villa. Overall though, it's pretty impressive stuff, going at over 2 goals a game and conceding just about 1 a match. So he's going pretty well. This tactic does work in FM. Now what I'm interested in first is the team he's been selecting. So we'll go to appearances. Here's the drop down. Rashford's playing every match, as is Højlund. Onana's his goalkeeper, but the players that we want to look for are your wider ones. We wondered about Garnacho, didn't we? And he's hardly played. He's only started 3 matches in the league. So it looks like he's not favouring the wide players. As I look down the list here, position-wise, I'm presuming Rashford played up front. Let's have a look. There's Rashford, 10 goals in 18 in the Premier League. Go to reports and form. You can see he was playing as a striker, but there is the odd role, look, as an attacking midfielder on the left hand side. So has he strayed from that 4-2-2-2? We'll go to the data hub, go to the analyst report, and we can see he's played 2 formations. Interesting. So he's using his initial one, but he's also using a 4-2-4, which is his second favourite. So he uses 2 versions of a 4-2-4. Who'd have funked it? And interestingly enough, the 4-2-4 wide is giving him a plus 23 clear-cut chances against his preferred box type, which is a plus 7. So I'm kind of blown away by that. I thought he would be rigid at his 4-2-2, but when you go to his profile, so here's Marco Rose, formations preferred 4-2-2-2, his preferred defensive is the 5 at the back, which he hasn't gone to, but his preferred attacking, so when he's gone attacking wise, he is playing his 4-2-4. Depends, I guess, what games he's playing it in. So a game like Leicester, where he's won 6-1, he went with the 4-2-4. When he's playing a bigger team, so let's say Man City, he went for the box. So now we're getting a decent insight into the way this manager, this AI manager works. I'm going to look for another game that he probably should think that he's win. So Bournemouth at home, and sure enough he goes for the 4-2-4. But he's had some big results against some bigger teams, like this victory away at Arsenal. And in that match, he did in fact use the 4-2-2-2 box. I'll just move my head so you can see that. There you go. So we're going to get 2 formations out of Marco Rose, and this is probably why he does so well. So from that, I'm guessing if Marco Rose AI version plays a 4-2-4 wide against you, it means he thinks he's going to batter you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to forward it now till the end of the season, see how he does, and then we'll build those 2 formations. He's got a 4-4-2 as a box, but he's got a 4-4-2 as a 4-2-4. Let's check it out. Quick update, folks. As it stands, Marco Rose United have just gone top of the league. Right, so I've came back with a couple of games left because I am intrigued. Away at City, they lost 3-0. They probably should have won looking at the chances, and they played the box. Now, they've just played them at home, and they absolutely murdered them. Look at that, 3-0. I know how you feel, Man City, when I come up against Marco Rose, and the box did the business again. At one point, they're absolutely flying, but they've just lost at home to West Ham. In that one, he went to his 4-2-4 and got beat. Bit of a sucker punch. And it's meant that they've dropped away from the top of the league. City have got top by a point. It's a wild season with everybody losing a truckload of matches. So I'm intrigued how many times he's used each system. So we go to Data Hub, Analyst Report, and he's started nearly every match now. He's proper started to favour the box. He's hardly used the 4-2-4 since the second half of the season. And to be fair, it seems to be working. Now, because they got dumped out of the Europa, they dropped into the Conference League. And they've actually made it to the final of the Conference League. They've just got rid of Lille in the semis, so he's on for a decent season here, to be fair. But I am intrigued if he does win the league, so I'm going to play it out and see. He's got 2 matches. I mean, he had it in his hands and he's blown it. Marco. It turns out the box formation couldn't stop them losing to Chelsea. And he went to his 4-2-4 for Villa, but he couldn't break them down in the last game. So he ended up dropping to 4th. That is a nuts season. But he gets in the Champions League, so I guess it's a success. And he went back to the box for the Conference League final and did beat Feyenoord, so he gets a trophy. So his season as Man United manager has been pretty successful, largely using that version there, the 4-2-2, but now we'll try and build it ourselves. So his favourite squad is there, Højlund and Rashford, I'm presuming with the 2 starting strikers, so let's have a look. So Højlund finishes with 23 goals, and when he played, he was largely a pressing forward, so he's going to be the pressing forward. So we'll go and create it now, create your own style, and we'll go with the 4-4-2 box. That's pretty much it, isn't it? And Højlund will be pressing forward. Rashford, on the other hand, when he played, was the more advanced of the 2. Ugarte played over 50 matches and presumably started every match in that defensive midfield slot. Ball-winning midfielder or Segunde, so he kind of chops between the 2. Might depend on who's playing alongside him. So for now, we'll drop in a ball-winning midfielder in there. So next to him, it was either Casemiro or Kobbie Mainoo. Now, when Casemiro played, he was flitting between defensive midfielder and Segunde. Mostly defensive midfielder. And when Kobbie Mainoo played, mostly a Segunde Volante. He did come on a couple of times at half-back, but that might be just to lock a game down. And if you remember, in Marco Rose's profile, he does tend to use substitutes. So in defensive midfield, you're looking at either a Volante and a ball-winning midfielder. Occasionally, it might be a defensive midfielder and a Volante, but it's going to be a combination of one of those. Bruno in attacking midfield pretty much stayed as an attacking midfielder, occasionally switching to advanced playmaker, but most of the time it's an AM. He was partnered by Mason Mount, who again, attacking midfielder, so he uses both of those. So we've got 2 attacking midfielders on there. If you're trying to recreate this, you could obviously add some play instructions depending on who you've got. If it's Bruno, maybe you want him shooting a bit more often. Onana, this should be dead easy. Yep, sweeper keeper. Your centre backs are going to be, most of the time, central defender, but he does change to ball playing defender very occasionally. Maybe when you're getting a lot of the ball. Partnered by Martinez most of the time, and he was most of the time a ball playing defender. In the FM world, Luke Shaw can actually walk, so he plays as an inverted fullback most of the time. Now, I did not see that coming. In a formation like this, you'd expect it to be a bombing up wing back, but inverted fullback on the left-hand side. But I did notice Dalot was high up in assists rating. He got 15 assists all season, so most of the time he played as a fullback, but there was occasions where he did drop into inverted fullback as well. We'll start him on fullback attack. So we've got his box shape, and that's the roles he used most of the time, but bear in mind he did switch it now and again. Now when it comes to the team instructions, that's obviously a pretty tricky part, but we go for the tends to down here. Alongside that, we'll go to style, and you can see over here, play mentality is attacking, pressing style is more often. So the first 2 things we can do is go attacking mentality, and we can jump this into more often like that. We can also see that he uses counter pressing and he uses counter attack, so you can see why it works well in FM. So he uses intense pressing, we've clocked that, plays out of defence, holds a high line. Plays out of defence, and now we can see that he's basically ramping it up. So you can see why he's pretty much a god in the Football Manager world. Now some of the others we need to fill in the gaps with a bit of common sense. If he's using counter press and counter, and he's using high defensive line and high press, it's highly likely that he's going all out tempo high, isn't it? So that is a basic Marco Rose style box. You can change things, like if we've got Bruno in there, I'm probably going to add take more risks and shoot more, something like that. But what I'm going to suggest is start with the basic template like that, play friendlies, see how it goes, and then tweak as needed. As far as his 4-2-4 goes, we'll have a little look at the matches he used it in, and then we're going to move these players out wide. So a recent match he used it was against Wolves, so we'll check that out. So Rashford, form against Wolves, he was an inside forward. So we can move this player out there to inside forward. Garnacho actually got a match in that one, and he played as, against Wolves, an out-and-out right winger. So this might help us see what he does about fullbacks when he plays the 4-2-4. So against Wolves, it was an inverted wing back. Interesting. And that kind of makes sense, because if you've got a winger ahead of you, you don't really need a fullback as well doing the same job. So he's dropped him into an inverted wing back as well, but sometimes I'm guessing he did put him as an inverted fullback. Interestingly, on the other side, it was an inverted fullback. So that stays the same, going narrow down that side. And looking at that, Casemiro in this game was definitely more advanced than Ugarte. And as I thought, Secunde Volante, with Ugarte dropping into ball-winning midfielder. And the other interesting change was the two strikers. Now this could be player related, but Kuna, whose favoured role is an advanced forward, played as a complete forward. And he did so again higher up as well, so maybe that's the chosen one. And the player next to him, Xerxes, who actually got a kick in that match, didn't play a great deal, was a deep lying forward in that match. That's a pretty unique front line and pretty interesting looking 4-2-4. So it's not going to be perfect, but we can kind of get there. His 4-2-4 wasn't as effective as the box, but some of those roles in that, I mean, that's not the way I would construct a 4-2-4, so I'm quite intrigued to see if it does work pretty well. So I've kept the team instructions the same for both, but I will say the first version, I wouldn't be surprised in some of the bigger games if this was dropped to balance, for example, so you should be able to play with that. But now we've definitely got a better idea of what this maniac does. So if you've got a tactic that can expose a 4-2-2 box or a 4-2-4 wide, use it against Marco Rose. And I used that Marco Rose inspired tactic to create my own version, and we've had a pretty good time of it so far. We're sitting top of the league with 2 defeats. I made a few changes, probably the most important one is this one where we get a bit of a wide overlapper. But it's doing well so far. I mean, it was doing well, but I ran out of gas, and at the end of the season, I've just lost 4 out of my last 6 matches, and now I can't win the bloody league either.